Greetings to all, we are from Group 24, consists of 4 members. My name is Nur Atika binti Ahmad Hilmi, and this is Women and Girls Act 2022. For many years, discrimination, prejudice, threats against women are so rampant around the world. Equality between men and women has been among the most fundamental guarantees of human rights. United Nations Charter, adopted by the world leaders in 1945, is that equal rights of men and women and protecting and promoting women's human rights is the responsibility of all states. This includes Malaysia in Article 8 of Federal Constitution, provided that every person shall be equal under the law and have equal protection of law. However, in spite of that, millions of women around the world continue to experience discrimination, and this includes Malaysian women. Hence, the very reason on why we are proposing to implement Women and Girls Act 2022. Our vision is that to create a safer public space and a better life for Malaysian women, by way of addressing the real problems in our society and how to combat it. From looking at many aspects, we are supposed to have more legal protections against violence under the law. Now let's see for what I have to say in this new act. In this act, you will find that creation of rights is based on affirmative action. Why? Simply to achieve justice. Affirmative action helps to ensure equal access to opportunities and brings our nation closer to the ideal of giving everyone a fair chance. In improving the employment, educational, and the problems relating to the marriage and type of solution problems for women due to their difference and other opportunities for members of group that have been subjected to discrimination. Next, you will find a stricter punishment for criminals in very particular circumstances, because that's the real problem that we should change, as current law will not cover all kinds of crimes that really exist in our society. We listen to the voices of Malaysian women. Education is for all. Child marriage is so rampant. Menstrual leave, never heard of it. Harassment is a common thing in our society. In this act, it has 4 main parts: education, child marriage protection, rights relating to biological characteristics of a female, and laws on the safety of women. The most important thing is no uterus, no opinion. We realize that Malaysia is a country full of cultures and full of values that cherish religion values, and why most of our provisions are relying on Islamic principles. It is based on principles in Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, Qiyas, and other secondary sources such as Istihsan, Masalih Mursalah, Uruf, Sad al-Zara'i, Qawl al-Sahabi, Sharman Qablana, and Al-Istishab. It is good for us, good for the society, and good for afterlife. This is because there are provisions that are in line with the Maqasid Sharia. Not to forget, we are also relying on the Western jurisprudence, where the legal theory is originated from the West countries such as United States, United Kingdom, Italy, France, Greece, and many more. You will find some of our sections are interrelated with the legal theory of positivism, sociological, natural law, historical, feminism, and critical legal study. And now, we will moving on to my friend that will explain further on the sections and provisions created in Women's and Girls Act 2022.
Greetings to sir, my name is Sivanandi Raghupati and my matrix number is 056925. Today I would like to explain about the Women and Girls Act according to the Western jurisprudence. Firstly, I would like to explain about the section 6 that we have drafted, which explains that every child has the right to education. Islam is the religion of the Federation and in the line with the teachings of Islam, hence every child in Malaysia has the right to education. Next, section 13, which explains that child marriages to be voidable at the option of contracting party is being a child. Hence, according to section 13, we have drafted that every child marriage where the contracting party is a child, the marriage will be voidable. We have drafted this section according to the legal positivism. These sections were drafted under the School of Legal Positivism in the view of Bentham's theory, where he defines law as the violation of the declaration by the political head to ensure that we can attain the maximum happiness of the maximum people in the society. His concept of law revolves around individual utilitarianism and its concern with the theory of pain and pleasure, which means that the purpose of law is to reduce pain and harms and give pleasure to the society. Child marriage is a violation of human rights. It comprises the development of girls, It threatens the life of the future girls and women around the world, robbing them of their agencies to make the decision for their life, disrupting their education, making them more vulnerable to violence, discrimination, and abuse, and preventing them for their full participants in the economic, political, and social spheres. A child's right to education entails to learn the right to learn. Hence, there are too many far children across the globe that does not get the chance of learning. Hence, without a quality education, children face barriers for their employment and earning potential later in life. Hence, these provisions were drafted and enacted to secure the life and the life of the children, to reduce pain and harms in their life, and give them the right to achieve their goals. The next section that we have drafted according to the Western jurisprudence is section 14, where if anyone forces a child to marriage, they shall be liable. We have drafted those provisions according to the School of Sociological Jurisprudence, where it states that law does not come from the state but it comes from the society. Thus, child marriage was common in the past due to lack of poverty, lack of education, harmful social norms and practices, and insecurities. However, now time have revolved, time have changed, law indeed needs to be developed, recreated over the time where the society grows, as it serves as a norm for the conduct of the citizens. Hence, the law should be a proper guide for the women and girls and act in best interest of them. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Akila Nadira, and today's group presentation I will be presenting on section 9 about discrimination against any students is disallowed under part 2 chapter 3 and section 20 about menstrual leave under part 4 chapter 2 of the Women and Girls Protection Act 2022. However, for my part, I will be focusing on the Islamic jurisprudence for both sections. I'll begin with section 9 under part 2 chapter 3, where it talks about discrimination against any students are not allowed. This provision represents Islamic jurisprudence under Sad al-Dara'i, which means blocking the means of evil. We can see that nowadays there are still children who are being deprived of their education due to many aspects and circumstances, and one of them can be due to discrimination factor. Thus, this section provides that all children, regardless of race, religion, color, or place of birth, should be treated the same, as we believe that all people should not be discriminated and people have their own rights. The reason why we include this provision is because we believe that by having this provision, it will help to reduce any element of discrimination at an early age. By prohibiting any act of discrimination at the educational level, it helps to educate and prevent people from having that kind of mindset. That is why discrimination under Islamic jurisprudence can be referred to as Sad al-Dara'i, because if we show people, especially the children, that people should not be discriminated just because of their religion, race, or color, it will help to reduce any factor that might be the reason as to why discrimination still exists, as Sad al-Dara'i means to prevent small evil act that might lead to a bigger problem. I have included a Quranic verse, Surah Al-Hujurat verse 13 and Hadith Al-Bukhari. Based on this Quranic verse and hadith, we can see that Islam encourage equality and peace among the people, and there should be no discrimination among them. The second section is section 20, which is menstrual leave under part 4 chapter 2. Under this provision, we have referred to qiyas as the Islamic jurisprudence, in which as a woman ourselves, we understand the struggle and the feeling of every woman during their menstruation. That is why we include this provision in our Women and Girls Protection Act 2022 to help employers and educational institutions to understand the needs to provide menstrual leave. We do provide limitations so that this provision will not be abused, as it can only be used if the women do show any symptoms of discomfort or pain during their menstruation, which affects their works and study process. There is some case where women collapse during their menstruation. That is why we think that there is a need for this provision to be included. Though there is no specific hadith or Quranic verse mentioned about women are allowed to be excused from their work during their menstruation, but we use qiyas. Qiyas means a process of deducting analogy in the hadith from those in the Quran in order to apply a known injunction to a new circumstances and create a new one where there is a Quranic verse and hadith stating that women are excused from certain obligation during their menses. For this section, I have included Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 185 from the Quran and Riwayat Muslim, as for both Quranic verses and hadith indicates that women are excused from fasting and praying during their menses, and we use qiyas to deduce that analogy to say that the same as to a working woman. That is all for my
Hello,
part.
my name is Nur Farahin and my metric number is 054991. So I will present in regards to the sections related with mixed jurisprudence, i.e. Western and Islamic jurisprudence. For the first provision is section 11 and under part education relating to bullying is an offence. Whoever has committed an offence of bullying may be suspended from the institution for 2 weeks. Repeated offences for 3 times shall be expelled at the discretion of the head principal of the institution. The reason we add this provision is to prevent any sort of bullying towards female students in the institution. We strengthen this section by adding punishment for those who violates this act. How this section have any relation with Western and Islamic jurisprudence? For Western, it can be seen from the positivist perspective, whereby the law should be backed by sanction, in which here the sanction is committed offences for 3 times shall be expelled. This is according with John Austin view, where a command given by sovereign is backed by sanction. However, we also apply L.H.A. Hart view, in which the law has power to create, modify, and extinguish, in which we add such expel is at the discretion of the head principal of the institution. For Islamic jurisprudence, Islam discourages any practice of oppression, physical attack, and threatening. This is according with the teachings of Islam, whereby in Surah Al-Nahl of the Quran, it says Allah commands justice, good conduct, and the liberality to kith and kin, and He forbids immorality, bad conduct, and oppression. Further, Prophet Muhammad SAW also narrated from Allah that my servants, I have made oppression unlawful for me and unlawful for you, so do not commit oppression against one another. The second provision is section 30 of part harassment and safety relating to the prohibition of advertisement containing indecent representation of women. This section reads as follows: no one may print, cause to be published, arrange, or participate in the publication or exhibition of any advertisement that contains indecent or obscene representations of women in any form. The reason we add this section is to protect the image and identity of women from being oppressed as a subject for men and human to regard with. When any form of representation is placed upon women, people always view women to show as many skins so that it is well published. This brings a negative impact for the future generation, especially for girls and women. Next, the relationship between Western is from the view of radical feminism, where this school against the domination of women by men. They view society as fundamentally a patriarchy in which men dominate and oppress women, and seek to abolish the patriarchy in order to liberate everyone from an unjust society by challenging existing social norms and institutions. While according to Islamic jurisprudence, Islam prohibits treating women with harshness and violence. Prophet Muhammad said many times in the hadith, treat women nicely. Women are twin half of men. He emphasized treating women without harshness and violence. In conclusion, by applying various views under Western jurisprudence and Islamic jurisprudence in our Act, help to understand the developments and evolution of law. This is because law can never be static. Law has to keep changing according to the development in the society. In the same manner, the scope of the law also cannot be static. Next, the study of the Act through jurisprudence study contributes to the fields of other social sciences like the political and social fields. This is because one of the most important features of jurisprudence is its relation with other social sciences such as sociology, political science, ethics, etc. Lastly, jurisprudence helps to manage law to be easier to understand, which would lead to be more effective practice of law. According to Justice P.B. Mukherjee, jurisprudence is both an intellectual and idealistic abstraction as well as a behavioral study of man in the society. Every jurist or thinker does not construct his research study on the rules already made, but try to understand their utility after due consideration. This is the reason jurisprudence has no limited scope and is a developing subject. With that, we have presented our group presentation, and thank you.